LA is now a symbol of America's decline and fall.
Former Los Angeles Daily News editor Ron Kaye sees the economic collapse of Los Angeles as a bellwether for what is about to happen nationwide. The crisis in LA was highlighted in the recent controversy over the unnecessary rate increase demanded by the LA Department of Water and Power. According to Mr. Kaye, this department has been a problem for more than a century.
The history really begins 100 years ago with the theft of all the water from Owens Valley, the theft basically of all the land in the San Fernando Valley to store the water underneath. And the DWP has been a rogue agency ever since.
The latest ransom demand by LADWP isn't a new occurrence, according to Mr. Kaye.
I mean, this is a scandal that runs deep, that supports the inflated wages and pensions of the city hall workers. It supports the inflated wages of DWP, and the end result is that we have an old, aging, and failing infrastructure. We've seen it in the last year where water mains were bursting everywhere, and the rate that they're fixing them at, they have 7,200 miles of water main pipes, and they fix about 50,000 feet a year. So at that rate, it will be over 100 years before we replace pipes that are already, in many cases, 100 years old.
If the money isn't being used to maintain the infrastructure, where is it going?
Secretaries, clerks, janitors are paid enormously more than a private utility pays.
And according to Mr. Kaye, the DWP is being used as a place to protect union workers. In fact, the dreaded layoffs from the City Hall were merely a shell game. The city budget was saved by merely transferring employees to a much higher pay rate.
The first 100 or so transfers, I think almost half of them were to the DWP. And for workers on the upper end, engineers and so on, it meant as much as a 16% increase. But for workers like janitors and clerks, it was a 50% increase in salary. They went from $40,000 to $60,000 salaries when their jobs were being eliminated and they were facing layoffs. Along the way, they stopped building new pipe systems. They stopped rebuilding the infrastructure. We protected almost 50% of our energy comes from coal to keep rates below what Southern Cal Edison charges. When Southern Cal Edison was going green, developing massive solar projects all over the region, Southern California, and progressing, we have almost all dirty coal.
The effect of this short-sighted policy has been undermining the economics of Los Angeles.
That's fundamentally the reason why the middle class has been fleeing LA for the last 20 years is you're paying exorbitant costs in taxes, rates, and fees, and you're getting reduced services. They're ready to force the homeowner to take responsibility for the sidewalk after 30 years of not having a sidewalk policy, a 75-year backlog of repairing sidewalks. And they're prepared to make you responsible for trimming your own street lawn trees because they don't have the money. So they're shifting the burden back to the people who have paid for all these services and saying you're now liable if someone trips on the sidewalk, if something happens with the tree, it's all your legal responsibility. And then they've imposing fines. If you get a notice to trim your tree or repair your sidewalk, you're then subject to fines and penalties.
This sudden catastrophe has been evolving for decades.
It's not mysterious. This didn't just happen. What's happened is that hard times wake people up. And then the excesses and the outrageousness, all city council and the mayor have talked about for the last year and a half of this crisis, is how to save the city workers' jobs. I had to lay people off in my business because revenue was down, the business was changing, and that's the way it is in the private sector. But in government, it's a jobs program and not a services program, and that's what went wrong in LA. The public reduced water consumption by 20%, and DWP in the last 9 months is getting 6 to 10% more in revenue because they structured the rates so that we pay more for less. So it wasn't about conservation, it was about revenue generation.
The problem is the leadership of the city.
And they have abused the city charter. That is supposed to provide independent oversight. You have a city controller who's not going to raise any serious questions about anything, and a consul that himself is owned by the same political forces that have been running City Hall for so long, the unions and special interests.
But Mayor Villaraigosa is leading the effort to move Los Angeles to sustainable and renewable energy, isn't he? Apparently not.
They believe when the mayor says, we're the greenest city in America, that he means something by it, when we're not. We're not the greenest, we're the least green city in California. I mean, the DWP has launched over a decade ago the largest green energy program in the history of America, they called it, to put rooftop solar on people's houses. And they built probably enough to not even power one small square block in a suburban tract, because they never implemented the program. So now we're behind the 8 ball, we're way behind the curve.
According to Mr. Kaye, the green effort isn't solely a matter of protecting the environment.
And you have to know that circling around the mayor and his inner circle are a lot of very, very big fat cats with a lot of money invested in solar. Okay? I mean, that's what I think this is about.
This problem won't be self-correcting. The corruption is institutionalized.
There are good people in the DWP management who are squelch. They get fired if they tell the truth. And so mostly they lie and dissemble and deceive the public, because that's the condition of employment. The DWP runs a parking lot itself illegally. Doesn't even have a permit from the city to run a parking lot that they're charging $21 a day to. I mean, that's the scofflaw attitude. The indifference to the rule of law is really the hallmark of this government. I think it's unsustainable.
But the citizens are running out of patience.
There is a grassroots groundswell of reaction, and the DWP is the flashpoint, because those rates hit every household and every business. I believe that the election next year, and in 2013 when the mayor is up for election and 7 of the council members are turned out, that's the point that we'll find out whether we can wake up Los Angeles.
So, does Mr. Kaye see a major change in the DWP in the near future?
You can't be overly optimistic or hopeful when you're fighting a machine that has all the guns and money. But I think change is in the wind.
Mr. Kaye sees this as a national issue.
I mean, we are unhappy with our government at all levels, and I think our government has ceased to serve us. It serves itself. And I think that unless there is a rebellion and people wake up and realize that we're Americans and we're free and we don't have to take it anymore, America is headed into a crisis. And I think LA is simply the leading edge of that. And that's why it's so important that we do something about it, that we don't sit passively by and let the wave of destruction take us down.
This is just a preview of an in-depth series. The full shows are to be released on cable stations and DVDs, and that will include recent developments where the Los Angeles City Controller has found that the Department of Water and Power deliberately deceived the City Council and the public when they claimed a rate increase was necessary. More on this to come in the full show. Please call us at 1-800-867-7777 to order your copy, or use the Contact Us form at the top of our homepage. Full Disclosure will continue to bring you the news behind the news. Thank you.